welcome to the show. How's it going so far? Woo! Oh, good. All right, up next we have a stand-up here that's performing for us for the first time at Sunday Night Live. His name's Brian Dwyer.
Yeah.
That's right, Brian Dwyer. You might have seen him at Sketchfest or around town. Sorry, Brian. And I don't know. Get ready to clap. Are you guys ready to clap?
Yeah.
Stand up toward. All right. Let's do the old. Start with a little slow clap. And then get them up a little slower, a little louder, a little faster. Here we go. Brian Dwyer.
Thank you. Yeah, I love doing comedy. And I'm getting better, actually. After a show, I had a lady come up to me and she told me, she's like, oh my gosh, you should be on America's Got Talent. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. You think I could win? And she goes, ow. No. But you could be on it. I was like, yeah, anybody can. That's the premise of the show. But it did feel good, my family's really supportive too. Like my grandma also came to a show. That was really fun when I was back in Michigan. And after the show, she was like, I had such a great time. And I was like, well, Grandma, what did you think of my jokes? And she said, Brian, I'm 89 years old. I didn't hear a word. But I liked that people were laughing. That was really nice, And my grandma, she is old. My parents are also old. Like my mom had me when she was 47. 43. Still old. But my dad was 47. And I remember I found out they were old because my friends were like, dude, were you an oopsie? And I was like, no. And then I went home, I was like, Mom, am I an oopsie? And she was like, Brian, no. You were a miracle. That we were not expecting. I was like, I don't know what your definition of an oopsie is, Mom, but I'm pretty sure that might be right. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing comedy. I don't get paid that much. I always tell people I'm gonna go full time with this as soon as I figure out how to live on like $130 a year. Yeah, any year now. You're gonna see me just living in a box and be like, he did it. Incidentally, I am looking for a job. That's real? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Sure, yeah. Do you know anyone? Okay, well I am looking for a job. I'm great with people. I'm a good public speaker. I graduated from the University of Michigan. The rest of this show is just gonna be a resume. But yeah, I've been looking for a job. I've been interviewing actually. I just interviewed at a company. I'm going to read you their website because I was really confused as to what they actually did, which I feel like I'm like, oh, am I going to be like outing this company? And the answer is no, because none of this means anything. Do you guys ever read a website like this where you're just like, it's just business shit? All right, listen to this, hold on. Their mission is a world where individuals and organizations rise to their fullest potential through purpose-driven growth, empowered by our culture of excellence, mentorship, and innovation. We envision a global network of elevated talent leading transformative change, building stronger communities and shaping a future defined by impact, inclusion, and continuous evolution. So in the interview, they said, well, why are you excited about this company? And I said, well, it seems like a great opportunity, and I'm really curious to know more about what your company does. And the interviewer, she was like, did you not do any research? And I was like, no, I read your entire website and I read the materials you sent, but none of it meant anything. Those weren't the exact words I used, but it was to that effect. Because they had like some numbers, it was like 2.5 million revenue generated, 6,000 events. I was like, what does that mean? And so finally, after a while, I got it out of them as to what they did at the company and what they do. She's like, well, we do events. I was like, well, what are the events? And she's like, well, so we have events through, one of our partners is Spectrum, and we do events at HEB. I was like, oh, is that like a monthly thing? And they're like, well, we do it every day. I was like, okay. so what are you doing every day? And they're like, well, we're at HEB and then we sell Spectrum plans to people that are at HEB. And I was like, man, that was a lot of business jargon for you own a kiosk. Which is fine. Like, I think that's a totally fine job. In fact, I might have been interested in doing that if that's what they had just said to begin with, you know? But no, which actually I have been thinking of rebranding. I don't do comedy anymore. I bring joy directly to the customer. Yeah, it's a pretty innovative business. You know, they've been doing it for thousands of years, but I'm doing it different. Because I'm me, you know? Yeah. But anyway, I did go. I went to the University of Michigan, and I had a tough first year. Anybody else? Yeah, okay, that's a relief. Just leave me hanging like that. But I mean, I think a lot of people do. Like, you have a hard time your first year, and I had such a hard time. I was really depressed, and I was really struggling, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a year off, okay, and then I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna recover, and then I'm gonna travel to Guatemala by myself. Yeah. Everyone I told at the time collectively was like, I think that's a bad idea. And I was like, no, I'm gonna learn Spanish. Obviously that's a good idea. And they were like, I don't know about that. You know, and my parents were really nervous too. They were like, well, Brian, why don't you just take like a smaller trip? You could go to Texas. They speak Spanish there. And I was like, I don't know, Texas scares me. They have too many guns, you know? I was like, maybe someday I could move to Texas if first I took a smaller trip to Guatemala, which is what I did. Because I did go, I went to Guatemala, and it was fantastic. I had a really great time. It was scary. There were a few moments, like when I got there, I was really nervous I was going to make the same mistakes that I made in college. Like, I wasn't going to interact with people. Like, I was going to isolate myself, and so I would try to introduce myself. And this guy comes in, and he came in, and the only way I can describe it is he looked like Indiana Jones. You know, like he had like the hat and the whip. He didn't have a whip, but he gave that vibe. And I was like, how's it going, man? I'm like, I'm Brian. He was like, I'm Frank, brother. I was like, awesome, cool. And he's like, you want to climb a volcano? I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I was like, do we need a guide or anything? He's like, nah, I got a map. Which is, I don't know, like, it was a thing you needed a guide for. And also, too, like, he was not Indiana Jones. I'd like to stress that he was an accountant. Like, that was not, he needed more than a map. Like, he needed a course and some training. But he was like, we need a map. And I was like, okay. He's like, I got a map. And I was like, okay. Well, I don't have any equipment. And he's like, not a problem, I got you. I was like, you just need a sleeping bag. And I was like, okay, that's included in equipment. I don't have a sleeping bag. And he's like, it's fine, there's a shop at the bottom of the mountain. And I will be honest, my white ass, I did picture REI. Like, I was convinced we were just gonna get to like an industrial warehouse full of, adventure supplies. And we got there, and there was a shop. I say it was a family. And they were selling walking sticks and hats, which are not sleeping bags. And so I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time actually to put my Spanish to the test. So I said, ¿Tienes una bolsa durmiendo? Yeah. Which I thought I said a sleeping bag, right? What I asked for more accurately was, do you have a sandwich bag? Sleeping. Like, do you have a tired paper sack? I'm in desperate need. And they were very confused. They were like, no. And finally, after a lot of charades, we figured it out, and they sent their employee, who I assume he was a 10-year-old boy, and he ran down to the town, and he came back, and he gave me a sleeping bag, and then we set up the mountain, which I was not a fan of. I don't know if you guys know this, it was all uphill. The whole time. I was like, is this what hiking is? This is awful. But we get up, and we get to the top of the volcano, come out, and it is incredible because we come out above the trees, right? We're out of the tree line. We're over the clouds, okay? And before we see it, we feel the volcano erupting. You feel it in your chest. You feel this boom. And then also too, the sun is setting over the clouds, And then as the volcano's erupting, you see the lava, and then in the ash cloud there was lightning, and then also the stars were coming out. And I was like, all right, nature, tone it down. That's too much stuff. You know, like I'm just a nature overload. And it was incredible though. And we're there, and we get all situated, we get in the tent, and I get in my sleeping bag, and I get it on, and I'm just, you know, I think this might have been that child's sleeping bag. Which was not ideal because it was very cold, you know, and I was really cold, and at one point during the night I was all curled up